release water ballast, because if she's coming down too fast, they will lighten it and so forth and trim it. Once the lines and the ground crew are situated all along the entire length of the ship, all the way back to the tail, and they actually grasp it at the last moment around the control car, there are hand grips, and they bring it right on down until it is moored, the nose cone to the Morton mast, and then it's stable.
This latest spectacle of the air age is greeted with excitement and awe. Dr. Reckner is jubilant.
We had a very successful flight, I admit, under favorable weather conditions. But I am convinced, under all weather conditions, even on the most unfavorable, we will be able to make the flight in all regularity and safety. Thank you.
Under all weather conditions, no one in 1936 would argue with Dr. Reckner's assessment of the new ship's flying capabilities. The Zeppelin is riding a wave of popularity, augmented by highly visible promotional flights across the East Coast. However, weather conditions and other forces would play a significant role indeed in the tragedy that lay ahead for the Hindenburg. Spirit of Survival will be right back. Spirit of Survival. Back at the Lakehurst facility, John Iannacone, a ground crewman at the time of the Hindenburg.
We took a lot of precautions here when the ship came here, because we put the Hindenburg in the hangar the first time it arrived here in 1936. And they made sure that all the electrical leads and everything else was fireproof, and they were safe, so that nothing could cause a spark. This hangar was spark-proof, and they made sure that nobody came in here with any cigarettes, smoking, or anything like that. The people that were around the hydrogen ship knew how dangerous it was, and they took a lot of precautions on it. And the Germans especially, they knew how to handle it.
Yet in spite of all the care taken by her crew, both by the Germans on board and the Americans on the ground, something went terribly wrong. Many believe it was an act of sabotage. John Iannacone maintains it was more likely an unfortunate combination of natural and man-made causes.
First thing that was wrong with the Hindenburg was full of hydrogen. And anytime you get a spark, I mean, it's going to go. And that's what I think happened there. They left valve some of the hydrogen out, and when the ship got grounded, a spark happened somewhere, and there was free gas in there somewhere, and it caught on fire.
In trying to understand how the disaster occurred, we need to retrace the final voyage of the Hindenburg from its beginning in Frankfurt, Germany on May 3rd, 1937. The Hindenburg, now enlarged to carry more passengers, prepares for her first transatlantic flight of the new season. In Frankfurt, she takes on 36 passengers. With the aid of an army of ground crew, in addition to the 61 crewmen on board, the Hindenburg is sent aloft, never to return. Weather is spotted the first day out. The officers aboard reassure passengers that even if they were to sustain a direct hit by lightning, the 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen used to keep the huge ship aloft would be in no danger. They prudently, however, decide to head north to avoid the storm and accompanying headwinds. The Hindenburg traverses the ocean at a top speed of 84 miles an hour, powered by her 4 Mercedes-Benz diesel engines. Before the dawn of transatlantic airplane service, this is the quickest way for passengers to travel from Europe to America. 5th morning, land is spotted. Strong headwinds have made the ship late by several hours, but bad weather ahead forces further delay. The passengers and crew gaze as they drift over New York City. The great looming airship is itself a spectacle, balanced on the cusp of what is most new, but, as fate would have it, what is soon to be a part of history. It is 4 p.m. when the Hindenburg finally steers into sight of the landing area in Lakehurst, but severe storm clouds prevent immediate landing. At 5:43, Lakehurst advises that conditions are still unsettled, but by 7:10, the naval station messages the Hindenburg that the conditions have improved enough for landing. Captain Max Pruce acknowledges and begins his approach.
This is the spot where the control car of the Hindenburg hit the ground after she caught on fire. She came in from the northern part of the station here and headed for the mooring mast, which was down here at about 800 or 900 feet from here. And the ground crew was waiting for them to drop their lines and the cable. And just as soon as they got a hold of the lines and the cable, that's when the ship caught on fire.
In the plane. Wait, get it, Charlie. It's crashing terrible. Oh my, get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames and it's falling on the mooring mast, and all the folks agree that this is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, it's 400 or 500 feet into the sky. It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the flame is crashing to the ground, not quite to the mooring mast. All the humanity and all the fans screaming around it. I told you, I can't talk to people whose friends are out there. I can't talk, ladies and gentlemen. Honest, it's just like that massive smoking wreckage. And everybody can hardly breathe and talk and screaming. Lady, I'm sorry. Honestly, I can hardly breathe. I'm going to step inside where I cannot see it. Charlie, that's terrible.
The fire only lasted about 34 seconds, and most of the flames went up, and the people that got burnt the most were the crew that were at their landing stations. They were inside the ship, and they couldn't get away from the flames. But the passengers were on the bottom, and as you know, hydrogen goes up when it gets released, and so the fire just went right on up to the top of the ship. I saw one of the passengers, a young girl. She was about 14 years old. She was burnt from the top of her head all the way on right to the back of her heels. The whole back was burnt, and she was laying. Some of the sailors had taken her out, and she was laying on the stomach out there on the field. And of course, when the medics came, they helped to get her to the hospital.
We'll return with more Spirit of Survival in just a moment. Emergency response to the explosion of the Hindenburg is almost as swift as the fire itself. Dr. Raymond Taylor is one of the first to arrive at the scene. He then proceeds to the local hospital where the victims are taken. Here he is interviewed outside the airship hangar.
I was the surgeon in charge, and I was automatically accorded the care of all of them. There were two personnel that were in there, and they were so badly burned that they were beyond help in the hospital. I examined them, and they talked to me through an interpreter. I couldn't talk German, and they wanted to know if they were going to die, and I told them no. Whereupon the nurses, I told them to give them enough morphine to keep them comfortable, and I'm sure they did. But it was terrible to see them dying, and you couldn't do anything about it. We had a Jewish doctor at the hospital that asked if he could take care of Lehman, because Lehman was a German, and this doctor was Jewish, and he wanted to show a gesture of goodwill toward the German people. And I let him take care of Mr. Captain Lehman until he died a few hours later. But in respect to that, we were also told that Hitler was going to give those who took care of these people a medal, but that was rescinded, I understand, when he found out that the Jewish doctor was taking care of German people.
Despicable for sure, and definitely consistent with the Nazi anti-Semitic mentality. Perhaps less consistent is the fact that Hitler ever had it in mind to award medals at all, especially if one believes the theory that it was a bomb that destroyed the airship, planted by order of the Fuhrer himself. John Iannacone, however, offers a more widely held, if less dramatic, theory.
That was the end of the airship, the rigid airship era, because everybody was afraid of them, and they didn't know just what happened. Everybody thought it was sabotage. Somebody thought it was somebody shot at it, incendiary bullet. I mean, they had all kinds of stories. But I still think it was static electricity that caused it.
Most of Iannacone's theory is in fact supported by investigations conducted at the time by both the U.S. and German governments. As the Hindenburg was maneuvering in the gusty winds to land at Area 2, it is believed a steering cable may have snapped, rupturing a gas cell. Then, when the rain-soaked landing lines were dropped to the ground, a spark could have been generated by the lightning-charged conditions traveling up the lines to the drenched external skin of the Hindenburg. When the spark passed through the skin to the internal frame of the ship, now filled with leaking hydrogen, disaster ensued. Screen actor and acrobat Joseph Spa is among the 36 passengers. He is one of the lucky ones who lived to tell about it.
My first thought was out. People began to scream and holler, and the furniture started to slide in a heap. I took the camera and hit this plastic window, and we started to climb out. I knew that I was hanging outside the Zeppelin. I did not know how long I could hold on. Instinct told me this is the right time when I let go. My left leg caved in as I hit the ground. I was trying to crawl away. Then I saw this big man. He came running toward me, picked me up, dragged me clear, and ran with me, and then threw me down on the ground. I saw burned passengers running around blindly, with everything burned off their body, just like they were roasted. I saw them still running. I saw 2 landing crew members trying to hold on to them. And then I saw some other passengers come limping on, barely burned. I knew that I was very fortunate, and I said thanks to God that He spared me for now.
Hydrogen will kill you because it burns. Hitler had no use for anything that you couldn't use as a projectile. He did succeed in doing one thing. He used the airship as a bomb.
Retired Lieutenant Commander Leonard Schellberg was part of the rigid airship program in Lakehurst, the U.S. Navy's own Zeppelin division back in the 30s. He supports one of many theories, mixing pre-war politics, international intrigue, and conspiracy, whereby the Hindenburg's destruction was no accident, but an act of sabotage.
Hitler cleared out anything we had for building an airship. It swept it out of Congress, and if you look around, it swept it out of Lakehurst.
Of the 97 people aboard, 22 crewmen and 13 passengers died, and on the ground, 1 member of the landing crew. Since that tragic day in May 1937, not another commercial Zeppelin has flown. It took over 30 years to develop the airship to the state of perfection that was the Hindenburg. It took less than 1 minute to bring that era to an end.
Coming up next, powerful tanks are used to end World War I on fields of armor. Then ferocious rulers of the deep peruse their paradise in search of unsuspecting prey on Hunters. Explore your world on the Discovery Channel.